Meet Margit, a Hungarian national taking a break from the job as an analyst for a global courier company in Singapore. She moved here in 2003 after an internship in New Zealand.
I was planning to stay here for 1 year, but as things got along, I really liked Singapore, and my friends around at work and everywhere just grew and grew, and I had a lot of travel plans, and I enjoyed my job, so I ended up staying on longer.
That was 5 years ago. Today, Margit holds permanent residency or PR status and calls Singapore home.
I love the forever summer. I love the heat. I love the tropical environment, the palm trees, the sea, the smell of the sea. So those are all definitely pros. I like the fact that it's reliable, clean, and secure. I've never really lived in an environment where it was not given, but I also appreciate when I'm able to live very comfortably and almost without thinking.
Rina works in a multinational bank in the fast-paced business district of Singapore. A Kenyan national, she is not the stereotype of the foreign talent which Singapore used to attract. In the past, these would be white-collar professionals of American or European descent. Rina and Margit represent the increasing diversity of foreign and global citizens who have come to Singapore for whatever reasons.
40 years ago, you see Singapore and Malaysia. I'm actually from Kenya. We were all at the same par in the sense of since we got independence. But 40 years down the line, these two countries are way more developed than us. I wanted to learn how is it that these countries are able to develop 40 years down the line and yet we're still behind. Because yes, definitely eventually I do want to go home, but this is a good point, especially when I'm young, to learn from here and see what I can take back.
Both Rina and Margit's decisions to relocate to Singapore were helped by the fact that Singapore has an open-door policy when it comes to foreign talent. According to data from the Manpower Ministry, the number of foreigners employed in Singapore rose by 144,000 last year to over 900,000. That's 1 out of every 3 workers.
When I first came to Singapore, the immigration process was very, very effective and very, very fast. So as long as you have all the right documents and everything correct, I mean, it's a very simple and easy process to go ahead. You just have to have the right documents, and you'll explain step by step on exactly how to do the application of your employment pass. So I must say that is one thing I totally appreciate about what MOM has done to clearly outline all this, especially for foreigners, and even the MOM employees working there are so good, because I've actually had moments where I've gone there or calling up to follow up on my work permit, and they're totally helpful.
It's been quite a long while that I was planning to apply for PR. Many of my foreigner friends who've stayed here for quite a while told me that it has all the advantages. And what held me back is basically all the forms they asked for. But then there were a lot of changes there at my company. There's a bit of insecurity whether I can stay on or I cannot. So I was looking for stability, and I've lived here long enough to feel that that's the right thing. So I applied, and within 2-3 months I was granted the PR.
Singapore's population is now about 4.6 million. Its planners are looking at a figure of 6.5 million for the future.
According to our estimation, the incidence of old age was sharpened by 2012. If we don't do some corrective actions, our aging population, which means that our workforce will increasingly decline. And therefore we need more workers, whether it's blue collar or white collar, for an expanding economy. We have to first assume that Singapore's economy will continue to have a positive growth of, say, on average of 5% for the next 40 years. Now, to achieve that 5% GDP growth per year on average for the next 40 years, we need a bigger workforce. And if this cannot be produced locally, and we have to use a very crude term, then we have to import.
Singapore has always had a policy of encouraging foreign talent to live and work in the island state. As an open city which depends on free global trade, the government has always had to balance the need to top up its talent pool with the concerns of the local population. It's a perennial challenge for the government, but the recent influx in numbers has led to growing resentment in some quarters. Foreigners say they do feel the grief of local Singaporeans who feel threatened by the increased competition for jobs, housing and space in land-scarce Singapore.
When it comes to work setup, sometimes you get the comment of you expats. I'm as much of a local as any other Singaporeans. When it comes to work, I'm in a local contract with the same set of package that the locals get. I think it's a perception of what we spend the money on.
According to Rina and Margaret, life isn't always a bed of roses. The rising cost of living has also affected them as much as locals.
When I first came to Singapore, which was a year ago, the rent prices already skyrocketing. So one thing that I did, with the organization that I came with, you usually send or you hang out with a few people and then you split costs and then renting out an apartment. So these are the kind of people I actually live with today. So we rent out an apartment, so it's easier for us to share costs and split costs. When I first came to Singapore, for a whole month I would use approximately $55 to $60 a month on transport, and right now I use close to 100.
January in 2007, my rent went up 30%, and this January they wanted to increase it with another 26%. So it was when you get the usual salary increments at work, so it was out of the question that I could stay there. And that's when I decided to move to another place, a smaller place, slightly less convenient, and I share a flat with more people.
Rina has to deal with discrimination which comes from an ignorance of Africa. She has both local and foreign friends and makes an effort to meet the families of local Singaporeans.
When I visit my friends, the locals who are here, and I meet their parents, I'm more than willing to have a dialogue with them and just basically tell them where I'm from, explain to them what I'm doing here in Singapore, what are the things I like, what are the kind of foods I like, what I'm used to eating. And also, like, one question I'm always asked is about my hair.
But she takes these in her stride. What is more hurtful is other forms of discrimination. She visited a massage parlor in Bugis and they wouldn't give her a massage, claiming they were fully booked even though it was completely empty. They refused to give her a later appointment either, coming up with one excuse after another, until she eventually took the hint and left.
If I was to take it at heart, it would always hurt me being here, and I would be always pissed off about it and make a big deal out of it. But the fact that, because I'm here about to learn more about the culture of Singapore and to live with different people, especially living in a country that's away from home and away from my family and friends and what I'm used to, I'm here to learn, and I'm more than willing to also share my background with the people who are here to at least learn. So I'm more than willing to educate them.
Foreigners like Rina still say Singapore is one of the best places in Asia for expatriates, and her open attitude is one which perhaps Singaporeans should learn from.